What is the most OP build for Byleth in Fire Emblem 3 Hopes? I know a lot of you have been waiting for this and it's finally here. Byleth is going to be just as strong as you would expect, maybe even stronger. Our class of choice is obviously going to be the Enlightened one. You know we had to choose the unique class. This build is designed around staying in your awakening as long as possible, and activating your awakening as often as possible. I present to you Byleth The Awakened Demon. Our weapon of choice is going to be the Sublime Creator Sword. The weapon was literally designed for Byleth, so we have to make sure to use its awesome power. This sword comes with an ability called Divine Ancestry. This effectively causes us to hit twice instead of once. This one ability effectively doubles our damage on everything that we do. If that wasn't enough, we get a really strong combat art called Sublime Heaven. This ability is really strong. We'll get back to that in a moment though. Our accessory of choice is none other than Fetters of Drami. This accessory effectively gives us the same move speed as a cavalry unit without having to be one. We've used this accessory a bunch so far, so if you're using it on someone else, a few alternatives you could use are a crit ring, maybe a strength ring, a speed ring, honestly, whatever you want. This build isn't too picky. As for our battalion of choice, we're resisting cavalry. Most of the endgame units are going to be on horseback, so why not give us some extra damage against them? Our combat arts are Astra and Sublime Heaven. Astra is a really strong attack, and as far as attacks go, they are nice to have, but are not the core of this build. Think of them as extras. You could run Haze Slice here, or if you want to put the time into teaching Swiss Slice, then even better. It's probably the strongest option. Our second combat art is Sublime Heaven, which we got from the Sublime Creator Sword. This ability really puts in a lot of work as far as the damage is concerned. Now let's talk unique abilities. So originally, during testing, I was running Sylvain's ability on Byleth to see what kind of mayhem Byleth could do. Although it did boost our damage, it did not boost it by enough to get rid of our Divine Pulse. Divine Pulse allows us to stop time. The way it works is, after we stop time, we have a short window to do as much damage as we can to our enemies. Once the timer runs out, a follow-up attack goes off based on the damage we dealt. Most importantly though, we could use this ability often, effectively giving us free damage against any enemies that we want. This ability is truly something else. It's like a more powerful version of freezing enemies into place, which we already know I love so much. Ashen Demon, our second unique, greatly increases damage while we're awakened. This is arguably one of the most important abilities in this entire build. Unfeeling Blade increases damage dealt by 50% when ordered to attack. Blessed Breath restores our warrior gauge proportional to our recovery magic when used. Honestly though, this is a big missed opportunity since healing spells are pretty bad in this game. It should have boosted our warrior gauge whenever we healed, period. Terrain resistance is a nice little added benefit of not having to deal with floor traps. And Axebuster level 5 gives us a 100% damage boost against axes. As for our abilities, as per usual, I'll show you where I got them all at the end of the video. A quick note, there are abilities that you can only get as male Byleth. Since this is an endgame build, I recommend while leveling Byleth that you max out both your female and male specific classes first, then swap between them when you go to your New Game Plus playthrough. This way you'll get access to all of Byleth's abilities. Sword Prowess gives us the 30% damage boost while wielding a sword. Impossible Feat increases damage done to foes but causes us to sustain proportional damage in return. Driven Spirit boosts our warrior gauge fill rate while we're awakened, which we'll be doing a lot. Covenant greatly increases the awakening gauge fill rate, but also increases the damage we sustain. Totally worth it in my opinion. Goddess's Vessel completely prevents knockback if your awakening gauge is above 50%. I'd say over half the match will be spent above 50%, so this is very useful. True Awakening extends the length of our awakenings. Piercing Gaze restores warrior gauge every 800 hits. Dexterity Catalyst boosts our warrior gauge fill rate based on our dex stat. Saint's Power gradually restores the awakening gauge, which is another really strong ability. And finally, Rejuvenation. This heals us every 800 hits. For our stat allocation, we actually want to take advantage of the Enlightened One's growth rates. This will boost our strength, our magic, and our defense by a big amount. All the while, Byleth having naturally strong growth rates will result in a really strong character by the time you hit 120. This is another character that I would pump stat items into, since very few will be able to compete with Byleth's level of power. Our most important stats for the specific build are strength, dex, and speed, so if you prefer to prioritize those stats, then level Byleth 60 times as a trickster and 60 times as a war master. The idea behind this build is to get our awakening state as fast as we can and take advantage of the damage boost. So, in battle, there is one specific combo I would like to highlight, and that is your Fire Twister combo. To use it, you need to press Y 6 times followed by X once. This is our combo generator. You throw this combo into a group of enemies and will get an instant proc for Piercing Gaze and Rejuvenation, both increasing your warrior gauge and healing. Throw in your combat arts as you go, since they also generate combo fairly well and do some great damage too. Everything you do is to work towards your awakening. Once you have access to it, make sure to dump all of your warrior specials first, then awaken and enjoy your crazy long awakened time. If any enemies give you a hard time or are more tanky than you would like, freeze time and go to town on their health bar. This also gives you a good opportunity to break the stun gauge, since there's really nothing that they could do about it. Eventually, your awakening will come to an end and you will land in a position to use your warrior specials another 3 times. Use these to instantly defeat strongholds or commanders in your way. Rinse repeat until your next awakening. This build takes advantage of all the awakening abilities Byleth has to offer in order to keep you in a strengthened state as long as possible. Now, where did I get all these abilities? Sword Prowess is from Myrmidon, Thief, and Mercenary. Impossible Feat is from Dark Bishop. Driven Spirit from Dark Knight. Covenant from Dark Bishop. Goddess's Vessel from Enlightened One. The Awakening from Silverheart, Piercing Gaze from War Master, Dexterity Catalyst is from Bow Knight, Saint's Power from Enlightened One, Rejuvenation from Grappler, Astra from Swordmaster, and Sublime Heaven from the Sublime Creator Sword. If you enjoyed the build, don't forget to like and subscribe for more. I've been releasing polls periodically to decide on the order of the next few builds. Feel free to vote for your favorites.